Welcome to A Place for Everyone Placemat Curriculum. This presentation will give you an overview of the placemats and some helpful tips on how to use the placemats with a group of children. But first, a few comments about this unique curriculum format. We call it the Placemat Curriculum because it's the shape and size of a classic diner placemat. Each week, everyone gets an 11 by 17 inch full-color sheet that contains the entire lesson. There are two versions of each placemat to choose from, one for younger children ages 6 to 10 and one for older children ages 11 to 14. Do you remember what happens when you see one of those classic paper placemats in a diner? As soon as you sit down, you're looking at the placemat, reading everything on it, even the doggy grooming ad, and you don't even own a dog. You can't help yourself. The placemats are instantly involving. Now, dial that concept up a notch and think about today's youth who spend a lot of their time on the internet looking at web pages. On a web page, your eye goes here, your eye goes there, you decide where to click, where to follow up. In format, a web page is not that different from an old-style diner placemat. It's friendly, it's involving, it has something for everyone, just like A Place for Everyone Placemat Curriculum. A Place for Everyone Placemat Curriculum is easy for teachers. It requires little prep time, and almost everything you need to lead a discussion is printed right on the sheet. To get the ball rolling, and to set the stage for what you want the children to listen for later, try our suggestions for a basic warm-up activity or game. Sometimes these suggestions are contained right on the placemat, and sometimes they're printed in a small leader's guide that's included with each 3-month pack, or when you purchase the placemats by the week. When you've finished the warm-up activity, hand out the placemats and make sure that you have a copy as well as each child in the class. Think of yourself as a facilitator as the children work around the sheets. With A Place for Everyone Placemat Curriculum, you never feel like you're delivering a lecture. Turn the exploration of the sheet into a shared experience between you and the children. Every placemat lesson begins with 1 or 2 lectionary readings and then plays or connects out from there, sometimes literally from the words on the page, sometimes symbolically from the meaning or emotion or message behind the words, and many times both literally and symbolically, just like a parable from Jesus. Sometimes, phrases from the Bible reading are shown in different colors on the placemat, so it's easy to find the related background information for some of the biblical context and to see where the discussion questions come from. In other words, the lesson starts with the Bible reading and then looks out, rather than drilling deep down into an analysis of the meaning of the entire passage. Often, the weekly placemat will contain a pop culture reference. We may suggest clips from a movie such as Pinocchio, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Hunger Games, Avatar, or Happy Feet. Or we may suggest that you read a Dr. Seuss book. Many of the sheets also contain a connection to one of the contemporary justice issues referred to in the Social Creed for the 21st century. The creed contains calls to action on real-world social justice issues. The green dove icon signals an excerpt from the Social Creed. On any given Sunday, the placemat may also contain a connection to a consumer product or to information from science or nature. Put all this together and you have a fresh new take on the lectionary readings that makes it easy for children and leaders alike to connect with the day's lesson and to discover the Bible's relevance in today's world. Ready to get started? Let's walk through a sample lesson from March 3rd, 2013. As mentioned earlier, there are 2 multi-age sheets to choose from for the week, but I'm showing the one for the younger children, ages 6 to 10. The name of the lesson is Fig Trees, Fertilizer, and Faith, and it's based on Luke chapter 13, verses 1 to 9. What will you need before you begin? First, we're suggesting pin the leaf on the tree as an opening activity. For that, you'll need a large sheet of poster paper attached to a wall, with a drawn outline of the branches of a tree on it, and enough green leaf cutouts so that there's one for everyone. Since this is a variation of pin the tail on the donkey, you'll want to have a blindfold handy too. You'll find these instructions written out in the Leader's Guide. Conversation questions you can use after the game are also printed in the Leader's Guide. Of course, before you begin the session, you'll want to have a placemat ready for each child in the room, plus one for yourself. Set out pencils or pens for drawing, doodling, and making connections between similar words, phrases, and ideas on the sheet. If you want to use the suggested movie clip, rent or borrow the movie Wall-E and prepare the DVD player. Consider using Fig Newton cookies or fresh or dried figs as a snack. That's it. Prep work's done. Here's how the actual group time might unfold. First up, pin the leaf on the tree. When everyone has had a turn, the tree should look a bit greener, and you can begin a conversation about the difference between the barren tree you started with and the tree at the end, with lots of leaves. What might cause a tree to be leafless or fruitless? Perhaps the season of the year, or maybe the tree's dying. What could you do to know for sure? Now the children are ready to notice that today's story is about a tree that hasn't produced fruit. If you want to skip the game, begin by asking if anyone has an example of something they wish they could do over. Why do we sometimes want do-overs? What does it take to be granted one? Perhaps you need someone else's permission or forgiveness, or you need to wait for a second chance. Then ask for a volunteer, or several, to read the lectionary passage and continue with the questions below it about do-overs and the fig tree. This is on the left side of the placemat. There are many text-to-text connections that can be made from this reading. The 3 years of waiting on the fig tree versus the 3 years of Jesus' ministry, for instance. And I'm sure you'll find many more. Keep the discussion moving around the placemat by asking for volunteers to read a caption or a paragraph. You may follow an order that makes sense to you, or follow where the children's attention goes first. It almost doesn't matter what order the discussion happens in. Some children love to read the lectionary passage. Some younger or less confident readers select a picture caption. Some prefer to describe something from a visual. But everyone can get involved without feeling put on the spot. As for the tone, keep it relaxed and fun. Think of it as exploring the sheet together with the children. Think out loud. Why do you think there's a picture of Fig Newtons here? Let them circle or draw lines to similar phrases and ideas, using school skills like text-to-text connections. Doodling's okay too. One basic ground rule helps. If the section they read aloud contains a discussion question, have the readers stop so that the group can respond. Sometimes we use mutual invitation as a way of response. The reader can answer the question or invite someone else to contribute an answer, and so on. Sometimes the discussion questions will result in a brainstormed list of thoughts and ideas before you go back to exploring the rest of the placemat. This particular lesson is loaded with fun fig trivia. See the right side of the placemat for many examples. I think my favorite discovery is that figs flower on the inside, which makes a wonderful analogy to faith and love. There are 2 key messages for this lesson. The first one is that we all have opportunities to be forgiven, to start afresh, and to enjoy a fruitful life on God's created earth. The second is that when we have love and faith on the inside, it spills over into our actions. And that's where the call to action from the social creed of the 21st century comes in. If you haven't yet ordered one of the laminated versions of the posters from Woodlake Publishing, you can download a free PDF version from the National Council of Churches website. The questions by the green dove on the bottom of the placemat sheet can drive this discussion. What kinds of fertilizer do each of us need for the life God wants for us? Things like education, clean water, healthy food, and safe housing are wonderful examples, and the Church calls us to keep working until all God's children have these basic human rights. If you want to use the movie clip from Wall E, you can play the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes. The clip is full of hope and faith in a greener, more sustainable future after a difficult lesson learned. And that's it. Many thanks for this opportunity to share a Place for Everyone Placemat curriculum with you. We'd love to hear how it goes.